Today we're going to be going over how to do archival research online, looking at 3 types of collections: magazines and periodicals, newspapers, and books. To begin, you're going to want to go to the English and American Literature Subject Resources, which you can access through the Keele Library website. To get to our magazine collection, go to the Databases and e-Journal collections and scroll down to the British Periodical collections. This will take you to the ProQuest website, where you'll want to go to the Advanced Search and put in your keywords. You may also wish to restrict the date range of hits. Here I'm searching for articles from 1856, which is the same year Madame Bovary was published. These search terms give us over 300 results. Now the first that comes up is a review of a book about suicide, which is potentially useful, so you might still want to give it a read through, but we also might want to look for something a bit more specific. So if we go back to our search results, we might be interested instead in this article about women and suicide, which makes the claim that there's been an increase in female suicide in recent years. So that's the magazine collections. Now let's go to newspapers. We'll begin in the same way as before, going to the Keele Library website and going to the English and American Literature Subject Resources. Here we'll go to newspaper collections and scroll down to the British Library newspaper collections. Now we'll do the same search as before, putting in suicide and limiting our date range to 1856. Now you'll see that this yields us over 4,000 results, because the newspaper collection is much larger than the periodical collection. Now, you might be able to look through some titles to narrow down your search, but potentially you'd really want to be more specific with your keywords here to get more specific results. So let's go back to the search, and this time try a more specific word, like for instance, arsenic. Now this already has narrowed it down. We've got under 1,000 results here, although we'll notice that they're potentially not about suicide, as this one murder case demonstrates, which seems to really dominate the news cycle in this year. We can see how many articles there are about it. So in that case, we might want to turn to the advanced search function on this website and put in a couple of keywords. For instance, we could look for both suicide and arsenic. Now, this yields some really promising results, and there are only 179 of them to go through, so we can see that coming up with very specific keywords and knowing just the kinds of articles you're looking for will really help to narrow your search down. Now, our final area of archival research is in books. So our last resource we're going to go through is archive.org, which is an archive of digitized books that are in the public domain. Now, this archive is so big that it's actually useful to have a far more specific idea of what you're looking for in advance of beginning a search, and this is where some judicious Googling can come in. There are plenty of sources that you might find through Google that are not technically scholarly, like newspaper articles or blogs, but which can give us information about authors and titles from the past. This one, for instance, points us to one specific guide, Advice to Single Women, from the 19th century. Or we might go down to this blog entry, which is a humorous listicle about advice from the past, but does refer to specific authors and specific titles. You might have to search around for a bit in this kind of Googling to find something that looks promising, but eventually you should be able to find some titles that do look interesting and sound like they might be relevant to your reading. When you've done so, either grab the title or the author and go back to archive.org. And in almost all cases, you'll be able to find the book that you're looking for, as long as it's from the Victorian period and therefore out of copyright. Here, for instance, we find the textbook of sex education from 1918, which, while a little past our dates, could still be interesting, and might direct us to other volumes as well, as here the publishers point to other sex education textbooks from the time. And that's it. These are the 3 resources for nonfiction Victorian sources that you might want to use in your short paper research.